Today, here's the one we've all been waiting for. How to cook a steak. I think if there's one question you ever get asked, it's how do you cook a steak or what goes in the lasagna, one of the two. So here we have a center cut 8-ounce filet mignon that comes from the tenderloin, which is a very soft muscle. It's very underutilized, so it's extremely tender. There's not much fat, and it just absolutely falls apart. You probably won't even need a knife to use it, but it is a good excuse to go out and buy yourself a nice set of steak knives if you need one. First, we should go through how to truss this up. This is important. As you truss it up, it holds the meat in place while it cooks, so that you don't end up having a steak that's all saggy, because no one likes saggy steak. So you just take your twine, fold it in half, go around the outside like this. You're going to push the loose ends back through. One goes one way, one goes the other way. One high, one low. Meet in the middle. Give it a quick twist, and voila. Now I left this extra long. You can always trim this off at the end. But if you leave yourself a little bit of length and you don't truss it way too tight, it's actually much easier to take off at the end. So we had our oil heating up ahead of time a little bit, and we'll go back over this one. Hot oil dances in the pan. You can see it moving around. Cold oil doesn't move. If your oil moves like that, it's too cold. So get it dancing in the pan. Lots of salt. Sweep up the other side. Fresh cracked pepper. We don't use mills in the kitchen, but we crack our pepper before service every day. At home, I would advise, go ahead and get yourself a pepper mill. It doesn't have to be an elaborate one, and it certainly doesn't have to be this size, unless you really like black pepper. But get a nice little crust on there. Black pepper gets a little bit piquant and spicy when you saute it, so it's nice when you have a good black pepper on there. Find the larger side to sear first. Go right into your pan and lay it away from yourself so you're not splashing the oil towards yourself. Now this is going to involve what we call a Maillard reaction, which is the creation of a crust on the outside of something, or caramelization. It's going to take a good 4 to 5 minutes. One of the problems that you'll have at home frequently is that you won't sear something hard enough, and then you'll never get that really nice crust that you want on a piece of meat, or a piece of fish, or a piece of anything. It would work on cornflakes if you really, really wanted it. So as we start to see this caramel develop on the bottom, that's starting to get a nice sear. You're going to want to go just a touch farther than that. General rule in a kitchen, when you think you've gone far enough, you're almost there. You're just going to have another step or two to go. Even at this point, you can start basting. This is something you can practice with cold oil too and nothing in the pan, just to get used to it. And then you can work on your muscle memory. And remember, when you go to flip something over, roll away from yourself. You don't want to splash hot grease back towards yourself. And the most important tool you'll ever have in a kitchen, other than your sense of smell and a knife, is a standard spoon. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. You don't have to go online and order a special cooking spoon. We use our pasta spoons in the kitchen here. Now at this point, you can go ahead and roll it over again, roll away from yourself, and you see that nice, you can almost hear the crust. That's when you've got a good sear. At this point, you can go into the oven. For an 8-ounce fillet like that, you're going to go about 5 to 6 minutes for a rare, 8 or 9 minutes for a medium rare, 10 to 12 minutes for a medium well. And if you want it well done, just go watch a sitcom, come back and pull it out of the oven. You should be perfectly fine. Now, what I will tell you, there are lots of tricks that you can hear online about how to tell if a steak is done. There's the old part of your hand trick. This is what I like to refer to as a confidence stick. They're called thermometers. Buy one. Until you have the confidence to do it, stick one in everything you do. You're roasting a chicken, stick the thermometer in it. Roasting a piece of fish, stick the thermometer in it. Baking a lasagna, stick the thermometer in it, because the thermometer can't lie to you. The thermometer can't give you bad advice. The thermometer does one thing and one thing only. tell you what the exact temperature is. So if you want a rare steak, you want 130 degrees. Medium rare, 135. Medium, 138. Medium well, 140. Well done, again, anything past that, you'll be perfectly fine. But if you get one of these, make sure you insert it into the center of the meat. That's always going to give you an accurate temperature. And then in a couple of months or a year, when you're really confident in your steak cooking ability or chicken roasting ability or whatever cooking ability, you can go ahead and give this to your friend who just started cooking. But until then, pop it in everything and you'll always know that you have it right. Now, our steak has gone ahead and roasted inside of the oven. We've got a good sear on both sides of it. I'm going to go ahead and roll it back over. Now, at the end, you really have an opportunity to infuse a bunch of flavor into your steak. Then pop it back on the stove. I've got sage, thyme, rosemary, 2 cloves of fresh garlic. I just pop them on the counter, smash them with your hand. I know there's that conventional wisdom that says you can do it with your knife. That's not a nice thing to do to your knife. Especially if you have a nice hand-forged Japanese knife, you're going to end up doing some damage to it. So, hit it with just a touch more oil. And then again, we go back in with our classic small knob of butter. It doesn't have to be a ton. You're going to get that nutty brown butter flavor. Switch sides in the pan here. Move that to the side, grab the butter. Start basting the top of the steak with that beautiful herb butter. Alright, again, if you do this too early on in the process and you leave it in the oven for a while, it's going to end up with the herbs getting really bitter on you. You don't want bitter. It's great for coffee, bad for steak. Just keep splashing up. And remember, baste up and away. And roll it over, flipping away from yourself, up and away. And let the herbs run over the steak. That's fine. Now the really important part. Let it sit for a minute. Turn the heat off. Go pour yourself a glass of red wine, whatever your thing is. Fingers. Let the herbs lay on top of it and let it lay in the butter. And then just let it get happy for 3 or 4 minutes. What's going to happen is the temperature is going to equalize between the inside and the outside. All the blood and the good stuff on the inside is going to redistribute and distribute more evenly, and it's going to pick up a little bit more of that butter flavor. If you take it out and put it on the counter to rest, it's just going to cool off like your Christmas cookies do. If you put it back in the oven to sit, it's going to keep cooking. This is the right place. Just let it be. So after your resting time has elapsed, go ahead and move your herbs off to the side. And you have 2 options. You can take this truss off in the pan, or you can take it off out on the counter. So, just roll this to the side. Go ahead and clip your strings, because nobody wants to eat the string. Alright? If you left yourself a nice loose tie, you can just go ahead and pull it like that. Make sure you get all of it. Disregard your string. This back over. This is a nice looking side. I think we'll present that side. Lay it on the plate. And then don't get rid of this. You're not done with this pan yet. Alright? Go ahead and take the herbs out of the pan and the garlic out of the pan. But you see all that stuff on the bottom of that pan? That's flavor. That's what you paid for. So you dump that excess fat out of there. Go ahead and turn that back up while your steak sits. I know you don't have one of these at home. Go ahead and put it on the counter then. It's perfectly fine. I have here some shiitake mushrooms that we sauteed with rosemary, garlic, olive oil, salt, pepper, and a little bit of chili flake. I'm going to go ahead and pop those into that pan. Alright? You can use a lower heat than that again. You don't like to set off smoke alarms in apartments, then I get that. Got a little bit of shallot and garlic that we already chopped up. Throw it right in there. This is aged red wine vinegar. Right? You want to buy a nice quality vinegar. You've paid all that money for that steak. Don't ruin it by throwing bad vinegar on top of it. So pull it off. Deglaze with the vinegar, and then put it back on. It's important to pull it off when you do that. Even though it's not alcohol, they can still aerosolize and pull flame out of there, and you don't want to burn your eyebrows off. You let that warm up a little bit. Get in a little bit of chopped parsley. And then just a little bit of butter. Go ahead and move that around the pan. You see it's starting to make a nice thick sauce. Starting to emulsify that butter a little bit. Nice roasted shallots, roasted garlic, lots of fresh herbs. Always cook with herbs. Always, always, always cook with fresh herbs. That's going to make all the difference in the world. And this, you see the sauce takes, what, 2 minutes? You don't have to dirty another pan. It's not a big elaborate process. You don't have to buy beef bones or anything. Just take a little bit of that. Go right on top of your steak. And then I'd let some of that nice liquid just run right down there. Because you want enough sauce for the whole steak. Let it run down and come back over. Just give it a little spoon there. All those nice shiitakes on top. And again, universal garnish in the Italian kitchen is a beautiful arugula salad with lemon and olive oil. Alright, you can put it on almost anything. And since this is some beef, I would even take a little bit of shaved Parmesan cheese, put it over top, and you've got a beautiful mushroom steak in your own home, 10 minutes flat. Buon appetito.